one. It is your girl, Beauty 87 here, aka Grace, and we're gonna get into my makeup collection. I'm giving y'all part 2 and probably 3 of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna record it today. I don't know which ones I'm gonna do first, but I figured I'll show y'all some. So these are all my small palettes. I actually have both these color block palettes on my eyes right now, and I'm editing the video while I'm standing here filming this video. So these are my 2 drawers. Oh, sorry, that's my grandma. If you all remember, she died in July of last year. So since she's the reason I started wearing makeup, I keep the prayer cards from her graveside service in my drawer. But this is what these 2 areas look like. Let me open the drawers and show you the other ones, because I'm gonna go through the big ones first and then we'll go through these last, because I feel like this is gonna be the most time consuming and I don't feel like being bothered. Yes, that is salt on my dresser. Don't. Okay, so next we have this drawer. Now I mixed this one with like mainly high-end and luxury makeup, and then but it's mainly like luxury. There's a few like indie brands in here that I just stuck in here because I felt like they felt like luxury or high-end things. But I'm not going to show everything in all the drawers. Like some brands I don't like sport, I'm not obviously going to show those, and then some brands like don't exist anymore, so I'm not gonna waste my time showing those either. But this is my 3rd drawer of eyeshadow palettes. We got one more underneath this one, and then we can get started. Now I'm gonna take the stuff out the drawers, and I got a board that I sit my stuff on when I take my pictures on Instagram. If you all haven't seen it, if you don't follow Beauty 87's IG stories about how I compare all the palettes in my collection, then you should. But that's the board I'm gonna use to show these palettes, as opposed to trying to stick them, pull them all out the drawer and try to rig something up just for that. We're not doing all that. So down to the last drawer. Now you see my last drawer is mainly my indie brand drawer. So as you can see, there's lots of Unearthly Cosmetics. There's BH Cosmetics. There's Kaleidos. There's my own side. There's my boy Neon MUA, aka Darius's Lunar Retrograde palette. There's the Only Terra Moons palette. Terra Moons, please make more palettes. But I have basically a hodgepodge of a whole bunch of indie brands and more affordable brands at the very bottom down here. So without further ado, I guess we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. So we're going to start off in this drawer. Let me grab a stack of palettes to show you. I'll be right back. So I think we start off with the palette I was just talking about when I opened this drawer. I'm trying to do all my one-off palettes first. So we're starting off with the Neon MUA X Drenched Cosmetics Lunar Retrograde. I love this palette. I think Darius did a wonderful job with this palette. The shimmers in here are absolutely amazing, and he made pastels that were brown people friendly, because I live for a pastel moment, and Darius loves purple just as much as I do, so I was excited about the purple, so I was excited about the mint. And then he gave like nice little neutral quads in between that you can use if you're not so much a colorful person the way he and I are. So I lived for this palette. I was so excited. I was mad that I didn't get a chance to get it during the pre-order. Honey, I felt some type of way. But that's okay. I got my hands on it though, and I was going to have my hands on it. And I've done about like 3 or 4 looks with this palette, so that tells you I really love it, because I told you all. Because I have so many palettes, I can do like, me getting 3 or 4 looks out of a palette to me is good, and that means I really put in the effort to get it, because I really liked the palette. So I really love the palette. I have another Drenched Cosmetics palette as well, but you all already saw that in my grandma's house. That was the featuring Midas Cosmetics. I forgot the name of the palette, but I really like the quality of that one too, and I gave a gorgeous eye look with that one as well. So Darius out here just killing the cat. Next, we have my Clueless palette from Hipdot. If anybody knows me, you know I love Clueless to death. This is what it looks like on the inside. So it's not super exciting in any way. It's just more for nostalgia. Like when I did the video, Nostalgia Made Me Buy It. This was one of the ones Nostalgia Made Me Buy It for sure. I remember being like in middle school quoting Clueless, because I was just in love with Clueless. Oh my God, everything Clueless. I loved Cher and Dion so much. So this was just more of a if I had a beauty room, it would just sit in there and look pretty, just because I absolutely love it. But it wasn't the formula was bad on the palette or anything. It was just, I didn't really need it. It was just more of a nostalgia thing for me. So there you go. Next, the only Lime Crime palette I have is the Prelude Chroma palette. I got rid of the other little ones I had, like the holiday one they had. It wasn't like the holiday one was bad. It's just because it was a holiday one, I wouldn't be able to use it on camera. And I wanted to have a permanent one. And the color story on this is simply stunning. I absolutely love this color story. I mean, like, this is such a color story for me. I like to use this shade and this shade with one of these. They're just beautiful color combinations to put together with this palette. I mean, it's only 8 shades, but I feel like it's a beautiful set of 8 shades for someone who likes grungy tones like myself. And it's usually 50% off quite a few times during the year. So if you want to get it, you should be able to get it Next, I have the only palette by Terra Moons Cosmetics. This is El Barrio. Oh my god, I love this palette. I wish they would make more palettes. Like, I did a gorgeous look with these two blues. And this, I think I've done a look with the orange, red, and gold. I think I've done a look with the orange and blue as well. So I think I've used this palette about 2 or 3 times too, which again shows how much I love it. But it's just such a gorgeous palette. They did a beautiful job with the color story. The mattes are nice and pigmented and easy to blend. The shimmers are so stunning and metallic on the lid. Like, I need them to come up with more palettes. Because I buy their singles, but it's like, you know, I'm a person who likes to reach for a lot of palettes. So a lot of the times, even though I have some of their singles, I might not reach for them as much because, you know, I have all these palettes I'm showing you. So this is likely Makeup Ugly palette. I love the look I came up with this palette. This palette gives me the vibe of what I thought the Sugar High palette from Nars was going to be. But I really love the shade range in here. And I love the palette. I think it's stunning and the palettes are absolutely wonderful. So I'm hoping this brand comes out with more eyeshadow palettes because I'm definitely here for it. Now, I know she does blush palettes and stuff. I don't own any of her blush palettes. I know Karen does, and I think Betty Jean or Batty Jean owns some of them. I'm pretty sure she said she did, and I think she said the brand sent her the palette or she bought it. I forgot, but I love that eyeshadow palette, and I hope she makes some more. Next, I have the Sugar Crystals palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is my only Violet Voss palette. I liked the fact that it had nice shimmery inner corner shades and it had nice lid shades, and it gave you like one colorful matte to choose from. The only thing is, I hardly ever reach for this palette. Like when I reach for pastels, I reach for like other palettes. Like I'll reach for Darius's palette, or I'll reach for other pastels that I have in my collection. Because I wasn't super impressed with the formula of the mattes. It wasn't bad. It was just like, it was okay. And since it's only one palette I have from this brand, I have so many other palettes that I like to reach for. I have a tendency not to think about it and reach for it. I need to like start trying to reach for it more, or else I might have to like, you know, make space, because y'all saw how many drawers it is in here. It's insane. Next, I have the e.l.f. Chipotle eyeshadow palette. I ended up buying this off someone on Macari, who I guess got in PR and didn't want it. I like the color story of this palette, believe it or not, and I think it's cool the way they set it up to look like when you go to Chipotle and pick up your food, the way it's set up. I thought that was really cool. So you got your neutral side for people like neutrals, and then you got a little few pops of color. I've only used it once, but then again, that's because you can't get it, so I try not to use it, because every day when I go to work, that's when I take my Instagram pictures to post for you all. So last thing I need to be doing is trying to use the palette that, you know, I can't recommend to you. So that's the only thing about having limited edition palettes that sucks for me. But sometimes I just go ahead and use them anyway. But this is one I didn't feel the need to like have to go ahead and use anyway, because, you know, it's just pretty basic palette. It just has an amazing formula for e.l.f. Because if you all know, they have hit and miss when it comes to eyeshadows, and a lot of them are missing, in my personal opinion. But doesn't make me love the brand any less. Next, we have the Care Beauty Life of the Fiesta palette. Now, this is the only palette I have here at home from this brand, which is why I showed it. I left the Mauve Tone one that I just bought from TJ Maxx recently at my grandmother's house, along with the other 4 small ones I have, which is why I'm only showing this one here. But this is what she looks like. I love the color story of this. I love the formula of the ones this size. The ones in the smaller ones seems to be harder pressed than the ones in here. So I would recommend you buy this size palette, because the formula isn't as hard pressed as the other ones. And this is my favorite color story from them so far of all the palettes I've tried, with good formulas at least. Next, I have the OPV Beauty eyeshadow palette. Bloom eyeshadow palette. When I saw this color story, I knew I wanted it. I was like, yes, I need it. And my friend Jackie was so nice enough to buy it for me. As this was either my birthday or Christmas. I don't remember. I want to say this was Christmas, because for my birthday, I remember her buying me the ColourPop big eyeshadow palettes that you'll see later on. But well, you saw some of them, you'll see the rest of them later on. But yeah, I love this palette. I've done about 2 or 3 looks with this one too, so that tells you how much I really like it. The formula of this one is much nicer than the Spotlight palette. It feels like the formula got better the more palettes they've made, because I've had Spotlight, I had Tropical Dreams, and now I have this one, and I like the formula from this one best out of all the other ones. It wasn't that the Spotlight one or the Tropical Dream was bad, it just feels like as they go along, they've improved on their formula. Okay, y'all, let me grab some more palettes. So the next 2 single palettes we have is from, what is this? This is Midas Cosmetics. This is the Smoky Glow palette. I don't want to hold it up fully because of some of the shades end up popping out. With my Midas palettes, it's always one shade that ends up popping out randomly. I don't know what's going on with that. So I haven't super glued it back in yet, because I forgot which one it was, and I didn't want to turn the whole palette over just to have it fall down and then possibly break that shade. So I'm just going to hold it like this. But this is a really nice palette and a really nice color story. It reminds me of the the old palette from Natasha Denona when I first saw it. I actually found out about this palette from my girl Lily Living Life here on YouTube. She had did a look at this palette. I was like, ooh, I need that. So I ended up buying it, and I had already seen Darius do a video with the High Tide palette, or Neon MUA, and I wanted to get that one, but I think it was sold out. So I had held off, and then I ended up just getting this one instead when I found out that this was the same brand. So I like this palette. I know they're going out of business, but they haven't gone out of business yet, which is why I thought it was okay to show this palette. But it's gorgeous, and I think Smoky Glow did a great job. Then we have my only palette from Sydney Grace, from the late great Mel Thompson. This is the Tiny Marvels palette. I absolutely love color story of this. To me, this is a good palette to pair with the Trio Chrome from Natasha Denona for some of my skin tone, because Mel gives you some of these deeper shades and some lighter mattes to go with this that match the shades in the Trio Chrome palette. So that's why I really like this palette, and I'm so happy I got my hands on it. I love Mel Thompson's content. She just seems like a wonderful, genuinely sweet person, so I was so happy to get my hands on it when it first launched, and I'm so glad that the brand is still selling it to help her family out, and I'm hoping that, you know, anybody who wanted to get it was able to get it with the restock that they have been doing. So I almost forgot, I only had one from the brand Glam Light. It started Glam Shop here at home, so this is the purple palette they have. I don't know how to pronounce it properly because, you know, it's in Polish, but this palette is simply stunning to me. This is like Lilac Violet, and it's by Pleasure mixed together with the Glam Shop formula, and it's simply stunning. There's one more one-off. I have this Tarte Make Believe in Yourself, I believe is the name of this one. I ended up having this and really loving it a long time ago. Then I ended up breaking like a couple of these shades right here, and y'all know I couldn't live without the blues and purple, so I found this on I think it was Macari or Poshmark for like 20 bucks. So I went ahead and bought it again, and then never touched it again, because, you know, with all the palettes I have and Tarte's formula not being all that anyway, I didn't think that much to use it again. But it's a really nice palette, and I'm gonna go ahead and keep it because, you know, it's the only Tarte thing I have, and I don't plan on buying Tarte ever again anytime soon, if at all. So, you know, we might as well keep what we have. Thanks. Okay, so I have I believe this is the Butterfly palette from Sugar Drizzle, and y'all know why I wanted the palette. Look at the colors in here. You got your blues, greens, you got your purple, and then you got a nice gold shade to put in the inner corner to go with all these other looks. So I'm here for it. I love the color story of this. I will say I don't like their mattes as much as their shimmers, but their new palette I'm about to show you next has amazing shimmers. Has amazing mattes in it. So I guess they improved their formula, and I was really appreciating that, because the formula they had before I was not feeling so much. So the formula in this one and the Flamingo one I don't really like that much, but the formula in this one right here, the Dragonfly, oh my goodness, the formula in this is amazing. And the color story, I mean, look at this. Doesn't this scream me in a palette? Like, it's got greens, it's got blue, it's got a purple shifting shade. Like, it has stuff that I like to have. And then I have like a dark deepening shade. Now, this shade didn't work for me that well. I ended up mixing it with the yellow and the eye look that I did that somebody had complimented me on. I think it was a thumbnail of a picture, or in the video I had this eye look on, and you were talking about you liked it. It came from this palette. I didn't do a video on the palette though, because I got mine kind of late, and I figured you all wouldn't care. Plus, again, when I do Sugar Drizzle videos, just like I was saying in my other video of palettes I buy but I never use volume 2, you all don't seem to be receptive for it, so I'm like, I didn't really see the point. But it's gorgeous, and I'm definitely going to use it some more and buy more palettes from them. Hopefully I'll be able to catch them before they sell out, and then I won't have to worry about you all not wanting to see it or it being too late to do the review, because sometimes I feel like it's just too late and I don't, you know, bother myself with it. But next we have the Lois Cosmetics Meet Me in the Underworld palette. So this is what it looks like on the inside. Crap, I just stuck my nail in that red shade. Oh well. If you all didn't see my video, I'll try to remember to link it up above. I did a video battling this against the new Gemini Volume 2, because to me, this and Gemini Volume 2 are really similar. And I actually liked this one better because I feel like it gives me more variety of colors. Whereas since Melt is known for grunge, they just gave more grunge, and it's like you already got the original Gemini with greens and grunge in it, so they just added grungy reds to it. And I prefer the fact that this has a lighter red and a deeper red, so I prefer this over that. But you can go watch the video and see how similar they looked to each other, because to me they were quite similar on the eyes. But the formula on this palette is amazing. It's wonderful, and this what made me buy the next one that I'm about to show you, which is the Meet Me at Midnight. Now, I didn't like the formula of this one as much as the other one, and a lot of people said the same thing who had the original Meet Me in the Underworld, that they didn't like this Meet Me at Midnight that much. I mean, I can understand, because I feel like the formula in this isn't as good as the formula in that one, but because of the color story of it, it might have been more difficult to formulate these shadows, is what I'm assuming and what I have heard from other creators. So I'm assuming that's why they didn't do as good a job with it. But the color story is still stunning, and a lot of the shades worked pretty well. It's just, I think, like, if I remember correctly, it was like this shade right here and that shade right there that gave a little bit of difficulty from what I remember from using the palette. But, you know, overall, I still like it enough to keep it, and I think it is unique to my collection, because I tried to give y'all alternatives online. I couldn't find any alternatives, so that says a lot. Now we're going to get into one of my favorite brands, and this would be none other than Adept. I absolutely love Adept, so I'm gonna put the palettes out in I guess the order they came out in. So Plain Jane came out first, and I didn't buy Plain Jane originally. The first palette I actually bought from this brand wasn't in Hydrant, but since Plain Jane came out first, I'm showing it to you first. Now, I did buy the original palette, and I just bought the two shades that went in the anniversary palette, so I could have the 2 extra shades. They're in the drawer up there with the picture of my grandma. So you'll see them eventually. But I just want you to see the original Plain Jane. Look at how stunning these shimmers are. Like, the bottom row is the one that shines for me, along with this one shade right here. But all the shades in here are simply stunning, and I love the shimmers from this brand. I love this brand as a whole. The only complaint I have, which I feel like a lot of people have, is she doesn't give us enough mattes. So it's like, she'll give you 2 mattes in the palette, but there's gonna be like 10 shimmers. It's like, but what am I supposed to put on my outer V and, you know, stuff like that? I need those type of shades. This is my favorite palette here. Oh my god, and Hydrant. This is easily my most used shimmer palette. Look at the dip that's in this shade right here. That is my all-time favorite shade in here, along with the shade in Hydrant. If you can't tell, both of those shades have dips in them, because I absolutely love them. They are stunning, and in this one, she does give a couple of mattes. The only thing is these mattes aren't dark enough for my outer V personally, so it's like I still have to dip into other palettes, but I usually just dip into the Blends palette, the original one, use colors from there, and just take the shimmers out of here. So it's not that hard press of a big deal to where I feel the need to complain. It's just, you know, as a general, we're used to mattes being in palettes, and then they're not. You're like, what the hell's going on? What's happening with life? Next is Codain. So this is what she looks like on the inside. Now, this one has been discontinued. I think she's supposed to be discontinuing the original Plain Jane as well, if I remember correctly, because the remastered one she made, and that one will be shown next. But this is my least favorite one, along with what's the other one? New, I believe that's how you say it. It's not that she picked bad mattes, because I feel like these mattes go nice with this set of colors, and then this matte goes nice with these set of colors. It's just more of, I don't know, to me the color story is kind of like all over the place, and I have to like think long and hard about what I want to do with this palette whenever I pick it up. So that's why it's my least used Adept Cosmetics palette, but that doesn't mean I love it any less. It's just one that's more of a challenge for me than the other ones. Next, we have the Remastered Palette, the Plain Jane Remastered I told you about. This is when she started making smaller pan sizes. So I compared this one to the original one just to see if the shades were going to be different on the eyes. And they weren't. They were pretty much the same. I think I ended up using my Colored Rain Vivid Pigments and Shadows palette. You all saw that at my grandmother's house as well during the last makeup collection video. But yeah, some of the shimmers in here look better than some of the ones in the original palette, and some of the ones in the original one I like better. So that's why I ended up just keeping both, because at first I was like, do I really need both? I should just keep the original one. But, you know, some things in here are better than some things in there. So I was like, I'll just go ahead and keep both. Plus, I like to review this brand a lot and reference the brand a lot. So I figured I should just go ahead and, you know, make a video on it. Now, I did not make a dedicated video to this palette, but you can let me know if you still want me to, especially since they're restocking in, I believe, next month, May. I forgot when in May, but they're supposed to be restocking this. This is the Heather Austin X Adept Cosmetics palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's a nice little grungy color story. It reminds me of the Glaminatrix Nocturnal palette. I haven't got mine in the mail yet. It's supposed to come at the end of this month, and we're at the end of this month, and I haven't received it yet. So I'm hoping I didn't get put in the group that doesn't show up till the end of May, because it's like by the time it gets here, you know, people will have stopped talking about it. Her new palette will have already launched, the nearly new one, I believe it's called. But back to this palette. I really like the color story of it. It's just, I don't know, when I put it on the eyes, I wasn't as excited about it as I was when I originally looked at the color story. But you know, I'm gonna try it out some more, and I need to take this back to my grandmother's house because I remember I had it there, but I couldn't remember why. Now I remember it's because I gotta compare it to the Glamour-Natrix one when it finally shows up. Okay, so let me go through here and grab some more palettes. I guess we can do Oceanside next as well. So let's start off with this one. This is the Urd palette. I hear a lot of people like this one, and you think I would be obsessed with this one, but I'm actually not as excited about this one as everyone else is, believe it or not. This is what it looks like on the inside. I mean, I like this. Yeah, that's my two different eyes. But yeah, I'm not as excited about this one as everyone else is, believe it or not, even though the colors in it, you would think I am, but yeah, no, I'm not. Next, we have the Skew. This is actually my favorite little mini palette from Oceanside. I like all the shimmers in here. I feel like they're just beautiful. Like this unique, weird shade right here. It reminds me of that one we just saw in the Glam Light palette, except it's like a blue, the Glam Shop palette, except this is a blue version of it. Not purple like that one was. I love how sparkly this shimmer is and this one is. I like this split pan thing because, you know, I feel like if you mix them together, you can make a unique shimmer to put on the lid. And then you have this nice other green here with the golds in it. So I was confused why they had two oranges in here. But, you know, they have different shifts and undertones to them. So I'm assuming that's why they thought it was okay to put both. I personally would have preferred to have another shade in there. Maybe they could have put a purple with the pink. But, you know, I didn't make it. Moving on. Next, I have the Nars palette. This was my favorite palette until they started coming out with collab palettes from everyone. And then, of course, you know which my favorite collab palette is. You'll see it in a moment. But this is what it looks like. To me, this is stunning and perfect for fall. It has great colors to go along with it. Like the four shimmers at the bottom are like everything to me. You hear me? Everything. These four shimmers at the bottom. I absolutely love them. Then there's this gorgeous shade called Pink Chameleon at the top that has a nice pinkish reddish shift to it that just looks stunning. I love everything about this palette. It is just gorgeous, especially since they didn't put any pressed glitters in it. After people told them in the Alva too we wanted pressed glitters, they actually listened. And that's another thing I love about Oceanside. When they get feedback from you, they listen. Next, of course, you know we had to have Auntie Tina, or Tina the Fancy Faces, the Hummingbird palette. Now, this is my favorite collab from Oceanside, all the collabs. Tina gave us all these gorgeous, beautiful colors, and I was extremely grateful. I actually used this palette last week alongside, I think it was alongside Angie's palette or alongside another palette. But I know I used it like last week because I'm still loving this palette. I told y'all I was going to be using it a lot. And I have. Look at the dips in my shades. Like, look at the dip in Fancy and the dip in Hummingbird and the dip in Tropics and Swallowtail. Y'all know I don't like orange like that. But I feel like you see quite a few dips in this palette because I was just so overjoyed and happy that Tina finally got a collab. So I was going to use mine. I don't care if he was tired of seeing it. Next, I have Giant Wolves from Annette's Makeup Corner. I have her other collab with Menagerie too. You'll see that later. But this is what it looks like on the inside. I love her color story as well. I feel like this would be good to pair with that lime crime palette I showed you all earlier because it has this purple and then this unique shifting shade here. And then it has some of those darker greens and shifting lighter tones to go with these tones and these blues as well. So I feel like this will actually be a good companion palette for the lime crime palette I showed you all. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and do a little cute palette mashup on Instagram in the fall with that. So those were all of my Oceanside. Now we're gonna grab some Beauty Bay since they were sitting right here at the top, real cute like. So I'm gonna start off with, of course, none other than the first Beauty Bay palette I ever bought, the Book of Magic. And when you see the inside, you'll know why it was the first one I bought. I mean, does this not scream the color story of me? There's blue, there's purple, there's a little bit of like tealish green type shades, and then they gave a little neutral part for the people who, you know, wanted some neutral tones to go along with this to kind of, I guess, ground it, if you will. But yes, I love this palette. This is what started my obsession with buying Beauty Bay palettes because the color story was nice and then it had decent quality too. So I was like, oh, okay. Now the new Beauty Bay palettes I just got, unfortunately, I left them in my grandmother's house, and I don't think you all saw them in that video. I'm not sure, though, if you did. I hope so, because I have so many palettes, so sometimes it's hard to keep up. And since I transport stuff back and forth based upon what I think I'll need, who knows? Next, I have the Age of Opulence, because, of course, they couldn't just make one blue, green, and purple. I feel like they did a little bit more fuchsia and purple, and then more teal and navy blue than they did light blue like they did in the first palette. And then they gave us, of course, some neutrals, and they just spread the neutrals out in different places. But to me, it's about the same gist, and it's just like different tones of the same tones for that palette, because those seem to be the tones they like, just like me, because they have 3 separate palettes. Like if you look at the Midnight palette, it's similar to the Beauty Bay one. Again, if you follow Beauty87 on Instagram, you should, because I gave y'all all the comparisons of all these palettes I'm showing you now compared to those 3 palettes that they came out in the permanent line. So that way, if you have these, you wouldn't need to grab those as well. Next, we have Wilderness. This is what it looks like on the inside. A lot of the shades in here are similar to that earthy palette they just came out with. Why is my mirror doing that? You see how it's puckering up like that? Why is it doing that? The blue is puckering up on my mirror. I don't like that. But anyway, this to me is just like a $15 dupe of Vita and Morte. Because you gotta think, it has all these deeper blues and greens in it. And then it has like this part right here that dupes some of Vita and some Morte, and a little bit of Smoke Sessions as well. So if you could get your hands on palette, I hope you did, since they're not bringing Morte back at all and everybody wants it. But I was blessed enough to get my hands on it. But I ordered it as soon as it came out. I was not playing. I was like, it looks like a $15 dupe of Morte. I need to try it immediately. Next, we have the New Romance. This is the Valentine's Day palette from 2021. I like this one I think 2020, because 2021's, no, I was right, 2021, because 2022's is the one, the Love Notes one, that I wasn't really that big a fan of. Anyway, this is what it looks like on the inside. It's a nice little soft romantic color story. I like this one better than the new one, like I said, so I'm glad I got my hands on this one and didn't hold off for them to come up with a different color story next year. I know this definitely screams Valentine's Day. And, you know, it's a nice little cute moment for Sweeties Day as well, when you just want to reach for these tones. I don't reach for these tones that often, and when I do, I usually reach for Natasha Denona's Love or Retro palette, so I don't get that much use out of this palette, but it's good to have some reference in my collection, and it came in handy when I had to compare it to the Berries palette. So some brands I keep just for reference, and Beauty Bay is definitely one. So we have the Nikki Tutorials X Beauty Bay palette. I know a lot of people didn't like this palette. I actually really like this palette, and I'm glad I heard another YouTuber yesterday talking about how she liked the palette. Only thing that sucks is, like, I like the colors that are on the makeup shamer side, so it's like, because I don't like these brighter colors, does that mean I'm a makeup shamer in Nikki Tutorial? And I like green, so you calling it E is very disrespectful. No, but I really like this palette overall. I didn't think anything was wrong with some of the other people who had a problem with it, but I was like, fine with it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad to have it in my collection, and a lot of times they have it for like 50% off on their website. That's the good thing about Beauty Bay's brand. They have a lot of their palettes on sale. A lot of the time, you can just go ahead and, honey, grab the deal, get the deal, secure the bag. Have another palette from, what is this, Ace Beaute, but I ended up leaving it at my grandmother's house, and I left some of my Nomad there as well, but those are the brands we're about to get into now. So this is my Ace Beaute Oceanic. I left the Flare palette at my grandmother's house because I'm going to compare it to something else. I got a new series of eyeshadow palettes that I want to talk about with you all. So that's why it's not here, but this is what Oceanic looks like. It is simply stunning and gorgeous, and y'all know I love a blue-green moment, so I had to have this palette. I waited till they reformulated it, though. I didn't buy the original one because I didn't like the formula of the original one, and I wasn't here for it, so I'm glad they reformulated, and I really like the color story, and I really like the way it's performed. I did a gorgeous all-matte look with like one shimmer in the corner, and looked stunning. Next, I have Tropical Vibes. This is actually the first one I bought to make sure the new formula was something that I would like. Mine showed up shattered, so this shade was already panned for me when I got it because it was broken when it arrived. But it isn't that big a deal considering how many eyeshadow palettes I have. I've shown you how many within the last, half an hour? Girl, it's not even that big a deal. So yeah, this is what it looks like on the inside. I really love this shade right here, but to me overall, like if you cover up this shade, this just looks like 420 that people didn't like the formula. To me, this is what we wanted 420 to be, this formula, as opposed to the formula it was, where it was like patching and stay on the lid when you blended it out. So I like this one better than 420, but I still kept my 420 because, you know, we're a melt stand and we're keeping all the melt things just about. I don't think I've ever decluttered anything melt, believe it or not. Next, I have the Nomad Iceland palette. This was my favorite Nomad palette for a while. I'm thinking it's probably still my favorite Nomad palette. I have other ones I like from them as well. I think I like every Nomad palette I own just about. So this was just the one that got to me where I was like, oh, okay, they got my attention now. Like I got my cute little blues with the little elf man. I got the reds. I got my smoky colors I can use, and then I got these fun pops for inner corner to go with the rest of the mattes in the palette. So I felt like this palette was beautifully curated, and it made me super excited to have tried Nomad. Now this isn't the first Nomad palette I tried. I told you all the first one I tried was Orient Express. I found it on Mercari, and I had been wanting to try it. I mean, Poshmark, and I had been wanting to try them for a while, so I went ahead and bought it. And once I found out the formula was good, that's when I like started paying regular price for it. But this is the Whistler Snow Lodge palette that they came out with, I think, at the beginning of the year. This is what she looks like on the inside. I feel like this is a good companion palette to go with the one I just showed you, the Fire and Iceland one, because you have some greens to go with those smoky tones if you want to do a smoky green eye. You have these bronzy ones to go with that cool tone look if you want to add warm and cool combination. And then you have a lot of little fun colors to go with the reds and kind of ground the rest of the blues that are in the Nomad Fire and Ice palette. So that's why I really like this palette. I feel like it's a great combination palette, and it stands alone just fine on its own. If you all saw the look I did with it, I think I did a collab video with that palette with my girl Dionluvsmakeup as well. Next I have Haunted Europe, or was it Haunted Europe we did the collab on? I don't remember. No, I think I did Haunted Europe on my own. But anyway, this is what she looks like. Again, I feel like this would be a good companion palette to the one I just showed you as well. I feel like all their palettes can be used interchangeably together for the most part, depending on which color story for which one. And that's another thing I like about the brand, because it's like, again, you have this smoky section right here. I could put this smoky section with the smoky section from the Fire and Ice palette, or I can put this smoky section with those lighter blue, with those deeper blues and that cool purple shifting shade that I showed you in the other palette. So I feel like their palettes all go together, and you can all mash them together and do beautiful color combinations with all of them, or you can just use them on their own depending on what, you know, vision you have for the palette. But this one is another one of my favorites from the brand. Plus, they always kill it with the packaging. Look how cool it is. This creepy lady. She looks normal. Now she doesn't. The last one I got most recently is the was this the Paradise Islands. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is my least favorite one, just because I feel like it has a lot of mid-tone shades and I need deepening shades. But again, like I said, since they have so many palettes with deepening shades, I can reach into the other palettes to get the deepening shades I need and just use this as more of a lighter shimmery shade. So to me, this is more of a companion palette. I said that in the video when I made the video concerning this palette, so that's how I felt about it. But you know, that doesn't change the fact that the quality is good. They have nice shimmers, they have nice mattes, they have nice color stories. It's just, you know, this color story in particular is too mid-tone for my personal liking based upon my skin tone and, you know, just preferences in general. Okay, y'all, we need to grab some more palette. We'll grab all the unearthly or alien cosmetics, whichever one you prefer to call them, because it's a huge stack sitting in front of me and we got to get through all of them, girl. It's going to be a lot. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first palette I bought from the brand. This is the Serendipity or Poison Apple palette. Serendipity is the one who did the art on it. So I have the original one. I did buy the new one, but I wasn't a fan of the formula of it. I wanted to compare it to this one. I did that, and then I decluttered the new one because the formula on this one is just so much better than that one. The shimmers in here are more blendable. The mattes in here are more blendable. And those just felt a little more hard pressed than this palette. So I preferred this one, and I kept this one. But, you know, it's a gorgeous palette. It's a gorgeous color story, so I had to have it as soon as I saw it. It was just too stunning to leave behind. And then I have the Lure palette. Now the rest of these are the new formula from the brand. I don't have any more old formula ones. That's the only old formula one I have. So this is what it looks like on the inside. I like the color story of this. I feel like it challenges me a little bit, because sometimes I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? Because last time I used the red, and then I used the two oranges. Sorry, I used the black, then I used the two oranges, and then I used the shade on the lid and put one of these in the inner corner. I don't remember which one it was, but the look looked stunning. And I, you know, wasn't expecting it to look as nice as it did, because, you know, I was kind of iffy about using the shades that I chose. But it challenged me to do something different, so that's what I like about this palette. I feel like it challenges me to do different looks than I would normally do, because normally I feel like, oh, well, I know how to put these two colors together or these two colors together. But that one, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So every once in a while, I like palettes to do that to me, and that one definitely challenged me. Next, we have the Fairy Frolic. But this one was a little bit easier for me, because it's like I was going to put the green and the mauve together. I'll put this whole section here together and pick one of these shimmers. So this one was a little bit easier for me to use, because again, put these two and that. Put these three and one of these shimmers. Like, it was definitely easier to work with and look at. To me, it's just a miniature version of the Fall Magic palette that you'll see a little later on. But again, it's a good palette, and I like it, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. Next one we have is another one I really wanted to get. This is the Strawberry Milkshake. Serendipity did the artwork for this as well. This is the first new formula palette I got from her, because the first one, like I showed you, was the Poison Apple, and it's still in the original packaging. But this is the first reformulated palette I bought from the brand, and I absolutely love this color story. Like, to me, this is just gorgeous. You got your greens, you got your reds, you got some light pinks, and you got a unique purplish shade. Now, of course, we know I'm not going to do anything with this shade. Maybe set some eyeshadow primer down or something, I guess. I don't know, but that's the only shade that it's useless to me. And I don't think this is one of the palettes that you can take the shades out and change it. I wish it was, because I would definitely change that shade out for something else. Like maybe a shimmery white as opposed to a matte white. For another inner corner shade for me to choose from. Or maybe a lighter pink to dust over this pink. I don't know. But I still love the color story, that I still love the palette, and I still plan on using it some more. I actually plan on using it with the next palette that I'm about to show, which is the Sleepover Palette. I want to use it with this one, because since this has more pinks to it, and it has this deeper purple shade, I feel like I can do a little bit more with that palette and this palette. Plus, I can incorporate the greens in there with stuff in here, and I feel like that'll just make a really cool look. I actually had these sitting out in the living room for me to do a palette mashup with them this week, so I'm gonna go and put those back now that you have seen these in the video before I leave to take Adriangameover to the movies. But yeah, this is just a simply stunning palette. The only thing I'll say is I don't like this shade because it has sequins in it, but I just don't like sequin shades. So I mean, I don't like that with any brand. It doesn't matter how much I love brand, I don't like sequin shadows, so I will always not like the fact that they're in my palettes. Next we have Witching Hour. This one is actually currently 50% off, so it's only $17.50. If you want it, go ahead and grab it. Use code GOODBYE and it'll automatically make this palette 50% off. So I like the color story of this one just fine. I believe this is supposed to be more like her Halloween palette. And I love the way she set this up, because it's set up the way that Glen Bunny Cosmetics sets up theirs palettes, where it's just like you just go down each row and you make an eye look that way. Now, I didn't do that. I used every single color in the palette, I think, except for like one, and made my eye look out of it. But you can do it the way it's set up, or you can do like I did and customize it whichever way you feel like. But it just looks beautiful, and it has great colors for fall, but I feel like she did a good job with that one. Then we have another fall palette. This is the Fall Magic that I was talking about. Now, I feel like this is just a bigger version of the Fairy Frolic that I showed you earlier. You see what I'm saying? Because it has similar tones to it. I feel like the shimmers in here are more sparkly than that one, though. It has a few more neutral shades in it than that palette did, but it has a few more places for a few more shades. So that's what it looks like. Plus, it has a lot more deepening shades in it than that one did, in my personal opinion. But you know, this is a good companion palette to go with the Fairy Frolic if you own it. I believe you can still get that one as well on her page. She had it for pre-order. I don't know if it's still pre-order now or not, but next one I have is Alien Cosmetic. I mean, Jesus, it's not normal cosmetic, Unearthly Cosmetics palette. I've been talking too long, y'all. But yeah, so I like this color story because I like purple and green together. And then you have these nice neutral tones for if you want to make a quick taupey-ish deep smoky eye. So that's really cool. I like this mint shade too, because you can dust this over this, and then you can use this shade with these two right here. So it's a very unique color story to a certain extent, but it's also, I feel like I would want to pair this with my Beetlejuice palette, because it has some of the lighter, brighter mattes, and I want to use in addition to the deeper shades in this palette in order to get like a cool sort of unique look. So I'm actually going to probably do that another time. I think I did it before. I had it sitting out to do it before and just didn't get around to it. But next we have, what is this? Hauntingly Glamorous. I believe the girl's name is Sydney Adams that she collabed with this palette, but like I said in my review, it doesn't say it on the palette anywhere, so I'm not 100% sure if that's right or not. A lot of people were comparing this to Angie's Club Nebula palette, and I can see where you get that vibe from, because she has a row of like red and corally type shades, and she has a row of purple shades, and then she has a row of light green and blue shades, and this has somewhat of that similar vibe to it, so I could see where people got that from. But they don't have this palette anymore, just like Kaleidos doesn't have her palette anymore. But I thought this palette was nice. The only thing, again, with the sequin shade, I don't like sequin shade, so I wasn't fond of that shade, and I've never actually used that shade. But I used a few other shades in this palette, and I feel like I made really nice looks with it, so I'm happy to have it in my collection. Next, I have Capricorn. This is what she looks like on the inside. I think this is my least used collab palette from the brand, just because it has all mattes in it, and then it has sequin mattes in it, and I'm just like, okay, I look at it and I'm like, what do I do with this? This is one I'd have to get single shadows to go with it, because there's no shimmers in here, and the color story just isn't necessarily my cup of tea. But you know, again, I was happy to get it because it is a unique color story, and you would bring something unique to my collection. Next is Smells Like Holiday Spirit. This collection is actually 50% off as well. So if you go to Unearthly Cosmetics again and put in the code goodbye, you'll get this whole collection for $40, and it comes with 3 lip glosses and this eyeshadow palette. I love this eyeshadow palette. My girl Karen Harris decluttered this eyeshadow palette because she said she didn't necessarily like it or like the formula of it. I've made gorgeous looks with this palette. I actually used it, I think, this week, as a matter of fact. So I've used this palette at least 4 or 5 times, again, because when I use stuff 4 or 5 times, you know I genuinely love it. So I love this palette. I love this color story, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. And I will not. Now we're going to get into all my menagerie palettes that are here at my house. Some of them are not here. Some of them are in my grandmother's house. Like, I think there's like 2 or 3 there, and and then like 4 or 5 here. So we're gonna start with the one you saw the video on most recently. This is the Sugar High. Now they have changed their packaging since. Like, they have circle pans now. They used to have square pans, so the rest of the palettes you'll see will be their signature square pans, but for some reason they changed up the circle one. So this is the most recent one I did. I need to do more looks with this palette, but I had to bring it in here for the video. So now that I have brought it in here, I'm gonna take it out now and do more looks with it for next week, because I still didn't use the light pastel-y like shades, and I want to kind of combine those with Darius's palette to see how they'll look. Next we have the Indigo Ink, and as you can see, this is what I was talking about with the pan sizes. Now, I've heard some of y'all tell me that you all thought this was a dupe for Tina the Fancy Faces palette, because I did a look with this palette, and then I did a look with Tina's palette, and you all were talking about how similar both of the looks together, and I was like, good point. But I personally don't think they're exact dupes. I mean, they have some similar shades to them, but I don't feel like they have enough similar shades to call it a dupe. But, you know, this is what it looks like on the inside. I have mixed feelings about this palette and the one I just showed you before. I don't know. I guess I wanted it to be more like the original, what is it? Violet Ink palette, and it wasn't, because it's getting more of, I guess, blue vibes than that. But I mean, it's called Indigo Ink, so it's like, I don't know what I was expecting. The color story is fine. It's just, I don't know, because I have my favorite menagerie palettes already, I feel like that's why I'm just like the newer ones. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's nice. But, you know, I have my other favorites I like, so clearly I'm going to be biased. Like Flight Club. Flight Club is my all-time favorite menagerie palette. You'll see why when you look at it, if you can't tell by the outside. Look at all this purple goodness. You really thought that they were going to have a purple palette and I was going to pick other stuff above it? Absolutely not. Like, this is one of my all-time favorite palettes from this brand. I absolutely love this palette. It is amazing. It is wonderful. I feel like it's just something you just have to have. It's just the best indie purple palette. Like, one of the best indie purple palettes in my collection. Like, it blends beautifully. It has beautiful range of tones. It didn't just stick to one set of purple. It has all sorts of different purples. It has pinky purples. It has light lavenderish purples. It has more mauve-ish purples. It has, you know, classic purples. And it has all different shifting shades of shimmers when it comes to the purple. So I just absolutely love this palette for that reason. And this is my all-time favorite menagerie palette. Next to the Serenity palette, of course, by Danessa Makeup Corner. I love her palette as well. It's absolutely stunning. I absolutely nicked that. I don't know how, but I love this palette too, and I feel like it can go great with some of the other palettes in my collection. Like, I actually did a palette mashup with this palette and her palette from Odin's Eye, the Giant Wolf, and I feel like the look came out stunning. This is just a gorgeous palette, and I love the color story she chose for it. Now, I know she said in her video that makeup preferences had changed over the last 2 years from when she did originally do it, but she still likes the palette. And I'm like, I still like it too, Annette. Next, I have the Killer Purr palette. I think they're not making this one anymore. It's either this or the Giant Wolves and Feral they're not making anymore. I'm not sure. Not Giant Wolves. She's Feral palette, and the Whale Song one is the one I believe they said they're not making anymore. But this is what this one looks like on the inside. I know y'all probably shocked I have this because it's so neutral, but I wanted to see how they did neutrals versus how they do colorful shadows to see what the difference was in tones. So that's how I ended up with this one. Plus, I think I bought this one during the holidays, so I got a deal on it as well, because I try not to buy neutral palettes at regular price because we know they're the thing I'm going to use the least. And as you can see, this one has hardly been used. I feel like you can tell by looking at it that I hardly used anything in it because it's just not generally something I would use. But it looks nice, and it performs the way I expected it to. Okay. So next we will do some paletos. Anyway, this is what my Futurism 3 Astro Pink looks like, but now I need to figure out where that palette went. So it's not in the drawer, and I didn't think I took it out, but apparently I did. This is what she looks like. And just like somebody else was saying in this video, like these two tones to me personally are too similar. As a matter of fact, it was my girl Ashley, or Dr. Ash in her makeup. She was talking about how these tones were too similar, and like I totally agree with her. Like they're way too similar to each other. But otherwise, I really like this palette. Like, we didn't need both. I would have preferred to have this one, then have, you know, like, another matte. Like, maybe the black not be shimmery. But this is my favorite Kaleidos 5-pan palette. And then I have the Lunar Lavender. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, the Lunar Lavender. This is what she looks like on the inside. And with this one, I feel like they did a better job when it came to mattes. Like, see, this one's much darker than that one, like I was talking about before. And then these two purples, you can clearly see the distinction between. And then the shimmers are really nice. I heard people really didn't like the formula on this one as much as they like the Sesame City or something like that. And I can understand because this one doesn't feel as good as my Astro Pink. But, you know, I still like the color story of it and like the shimmers enough to keep it. Even if I didn't like the rest of the palette, I like the shimmers enough to keep it. And I can just put, you know, purples I like with it better. Next, we have the Escape Pod. Again, I need to figure out where the Floral Punk is. This is what it looks like on the inside. I wasn't that fond of this color story, but the shimmers in here were really nice and the mattes were really nice, so I just went ahead and kept it. But this is not my favorite palette. Plus, I hate this packaging. It's so bulky in there. And then last but not least from Kaleidos, we have Angie's palette. So we have Club Nebula. This is what it looks like on the inside. I think it's stunning. But now you see what I'm talking about with the Stacey Marie. See, she has those same grungiest purplish type tones. She has those same blue and greenish type tones. And then she has like the red and corally situation going on down here. So that's why people were comparing to this one. But you know, I like Angie's better than I like that one. I feel like the shimmers in here are just superb. And then the mattes blend out really nice and give amazing payoff. So I feel like she did an excellent job with this palette. And I would say like this is one of my most used collab palettes out of all my collab palettes in my collection. So that should tell you something right there. Y'all, well, this isn't a one brand palette anymore. I have another palette from the brand. I just left that palette at my grandma's house, the Art Nouveau. I do have that one as well because I was going to give you all a video. Let me know down below if you want a video with it or not. But this is the first palette I bought from the brand, the Impressionism palette. I like the palettes in this packaging. I don't necessarily like the palettes in other packaging. And then I have the Van Gogh one in the other packaging, but I love the color story of that one. The color story of this one is nice, and it did an okay job. It's just the shimmers in here are quite like more satin looking, and y'all know I'm more of a shimmery, glittery extra lady, so that's why I'm not necessarily with it, but you know, it's okay. Next, we are going to do my LA Girl. So I can never get rid of this one. This is the Break Free, what is the name of this one? This Is Me palette. I ended up getting a compliment from the brand himself, LA Girl, about how nice my eyeshadow looked with this palette. So needless to say, I'm never gonna let it go just because of that. Plus, it's a purple palette, so who's letting it go? Who's letting go of a purple palette? The only thing I will say is I feel like all their palettes are more mid-tone, and they only give you like a black shade to deepen up the outer V. So I always find myself reaching into other palettes that have colorful mattes in it that are deeper to work with. So that's what I will say about LA Girl. I feel like they need to fix that and give you some more deep colorful mattes instead of always giving you mid-tone shades, because mid-tone shades are cute, but mid-tone shades aren't always going to work. Next, I have my main stage palette, and this is by far my favorite palette from them. This is the Backstage palette from the Desert Dream collection. Only thing is the shadow in here broke on me when I went to take it to my grandmother's house, and I pressed it back in, but as you can see, it messed up and got all over the palette. But this palette is superb. This is one of my all-time favorite palettes from them. It's my most used palette from them. I absolutely love this palette. The color story is just chef's kiss. Blues, greens, and purples. What is there to complain about? I feel like this would be a good companion palette for the one I showed you all earlier from Sugar Drizzle. I feel like this would be a great companion palette to the Sugar Drizzle palette because it has those blues that is missing to go with that blue shimmer that they have, and it has some deepening shades and they have some deepening shades to go with this palette that this palette is lacking. So I will probably do a palette match with that as well. Now I thought about it. The only fortunate thing is those last two palettes I just showed you can't get, but I think these are still two palettes you can get from them. This is the Hey Hey Vacay in Good Times and Tan Lines. This is the one I did a video on comparing it to the Natasha Denona Zendo palette because it looks quite similar to the Zendo palette. It's just more brighter, fun colors than the Zendo palette. But again, not enough deepening shades for the outer V. So, I mean, like I've been telling y'all, they are more of a mid-tone brand. So if you want deeper tones, you're going to have to reach into other palettes to get them. But I always catch these palettes on sale, so I end up spending like, I think, $8 or $9 because I always catch them on sale for like $11 on Ulta, and then you can use a $3.50 off coupon with it and get an extra like $3 off. So like for $8, I think it's worth it. This is the Fenty Bestie in the shade. Oh, the name of this one is called Fenty Bestie. Okay, so this is the inside of this palette, and as you can see, this is quite similar to the one I showed you all from Kylie. That used to be Muse Beauty, the Impressionism palette. I feel like this is really similar to that. I showed you all that online a while ago. And a main chick, side chick, I believe. But these are quite similar in tone. So it just depends on which brand you prefer to buy from. I feel like there are more greens in the one I just showed you from Kylie than there is in this palette. But otherwise, I feel like they have pretty much similar tones to them. And you could possibly create similar looks. And the shimmers and the LA Girl one are going to be way more impactful than the ones in the Kylie Beauty one. Left my Shroud Cosmetics palette at my grandmother's house. The other one, the Arcana, because I wanted to compare it to the, what is that palette? The Nocturnal one I'm getting from from Glaminatrix. So we'll just show the Baddie Bean and Shroud one because my Creepy Cute Volume 2 hasn't shown up yet, and my original Creepy Cute is at my grandmother's house for when I do that review. So this is what it looks like on the inside. This color story is absolutely stunning. I love the color she chose. The only shade I wasn't that excited about was Sam, but it's just, but I mean, I know it's needed. It's needed to be an inner corner shade for all the other ones because a lot of these other ones I would put on the lid. Not that I wouldn't put them in the inner corner, but I see why it's there, but I guess to ground it, if you will. But I love all the shades in this palette pretty much. It just too further. But I mean, it was worth the wait because it's another one of the palettes I use the most out of all my collab palettes I own. So that says everything about it right there. Okay, we're almost done with this drawer. Let's get into my Glam Light palettes. This is the Ice Cream Dream palette. Y'all remember I told you all I didn't like this palette. That's because I don't feel like it stays true to tone. When you put the mattes on the crease and on the eye, I feel like they oxidize and they don't look true to color. So that was my problem with this palette. Otherwise, it was fine. The shimmers in here are nice. The mattes in here were fine. It's just the pastel mattes didn't stay true to color when you put them on. And I wanted the color that was in the pan, not the oxidized version of that color. So that's why it was a bust for me. It had nothing to do with quality. It had to do with it not staying the same color. So we'll start off with Margarita. This is my least favorite one from this collection just because there's a whole bunch of mid-tone shades. And I feel like they've come up with so many shades like this already to just like... How many more times do I need it? Like, I wish they would have just given us a different tone of margarita. Or just, like, you know, came up with a different drink to give us as opposed to margarita. I mean, I love margaritas, but I don't love the margarita palette. So, there's that. Next is the Chocolate Martini. That's what she looks like on the inside. I actually like this one more than I like the margarita just because I feel like it's a unique neutral palette. I feel like a lot of times neutral palettes aren't unique. So the fact that this one is unique just gave it a thumbs up for me. Like this interesting orange and then all these like mauvish type shades. And then this unique shade Happy Hour right here. It's not your traditional neutral palette, which I can appreciate since everybody comes out with neutral palettes. So that's why I give it a pass. And that's why I actually like it more than the margarita one. Because margarita one just looks like 50 things they've done in the past. Next, we have Dirty Martini. This is what she looks like. I'll show the inside of this right here. I love this color story. To me, this seems like they mashed up 420 and Smoke Sessions together, and that's how you got the color story of this. And I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I absolutely love it. This one, and then one I'm going to show you next is my favorite, which would be, of course, the Wine Palette, because if y'all haven't got it by now, I have a thing for purple palettes. So here it is, the Wine Palette. I absolutely love this color story. This is another one of my favorite purple color stories of all time. I was thinking about doing a video ranking all my purple palettes just because I have a love of purple palettes and I own so many, and then I could tell you the reasoning why I like that purple or another purple and all that. So let me know down below if you want to see that too, because I got plenty of purple palettes to choose from that I absolutely love, and this is definitely one of them. I will put this in the top 10 along with my It's My Pleasure, Lilac You a Lie, and then of course Flight Club that I showed you all earlier. This palette is stunning and I just needed it, so I just bought the whole collection to give you all a well-rounded video of it. Okay, y'all, we're at the home stretch for trying to get done with these palettes. Forgot about this Morphe palette because, you know, I don't really represent Morphe. But this is the Jaclyn Hill, the original one before they changed it and, you know, whatever. I ended up getting this for $20. That's the only reason I got it, after everybody raved about the formula. It was like 20 bucks with my, after I used my points from Ulta. So I was like, I'll try it for 20 bucks, but I wasn't going to pay like the regular price, one in like 35 or 38 or something crazy like that. And I'm like, it's Morphe, it's not worth all that to me. But since I do have a YouTube channel and it's part of makeup history, I felt the need to grab it, so I ended up getting it. So I had forgot all about it though, which is why it's not at the beginning with the rest of the stuff. So my bad. Written to my Plain and Makeup by Yolanda palettes. Now all of them are here again. I have some in my grandmother's house and some here, but I'm gonna show you the ones that are here, and you've seen the other ones already. So I'm gonna start off with the little bitty ones. So this is the mixed mauves. This is what it looks like on the inside. Again, I didn't see how this was mauve if it was purple, but you know, to each his own, you know, whatever. I hate the fact that all of these have pressed glitter in them, which is probably why I don't reach for them that much, because it's like I don't ever really reach for those because they have pressed glitters in them. Next we have Noble Blues. This is what it looks like. Again, another pressed glitter. I like the color story of this one just fine. It's like a mixture of On Cloud Blue and Blue Moon from ColourPop, except it has a pressed glitter. Again, not a fan of the pressed glitter movement that she's trying to make. Then I have Gaseous Greens. I don't know why it's like that. Now this is the only one that doesn't have a pressed glitter in it, and I can definitely appreciate that. So this will probably be one I would reach for over the other ones, just because I don't have to worry about there being a pressed glitter that I don't want. Next, this is my all-time favorite one from her, easily Jamrock No Limitations eyeshadow palette. I love this palette. Like, this is definitely a color story for me. I ended up buying it when she had a 50% off sale because she's moving the brand from New York to where she lives now, Atlanta. So I definitely took advantage of the deal and got it. And I got, I think Jamrock Rebirth too, but I ended up selling that one on Mercari because I wasn't as big a fan of that one as I am of this one. This color story just speaks to myself. This is gorgeous, and this is the one that I had to have, so I made sure I got it. I think it cost me like $20 or $25, which was a steal because that formula is amazing. Last one I have is Relentless from her. I got this as a Christmas present from my best friend Jackie. I had told her I wanted this palette, and then I had found it on sale, I think for like 40% off. So I told her, like, go ahead and grab it now while it's 40% off, because she was buying me so much stuff. I was trying to, like, you know, get the deal. But this is what it looks like. Absolutely stunning. What I loved so much about it though was she had these huge three multi-chrome shadows in here, and she's recently had this on sale for 40% off a couple of times. I told you all about it so you could get the run deal and run to get it, because honey, the size of those alone to me made it worth it to buy that palette if I had bought it myself. But you know, I was blessed enough to where I didn't have to buy it myself, thank God. We got these places. So I'm gonna start off with all the little ones, and honey, do you see how many little ones I have? So we're gonna be here in a minute. So we got the Violets by Juvia's Place. This is a gorgeous purple palette. Y'all know I had to have the purple palette. Juvia's Place does this thing where they put glitters in their palettes too, and I hate when they do that. So next we have the Nubian Royals. This is what it looks like on the inside. Absolutely stunning. Love it. I just hate the pressed glitter in it. Next we have the Sweet Pinks. I wasn't as excited about this as I thought I was going to be. I felt like it didn't perform as well as I was hoping it to. But I still love the color story of it. And I'll use it from time to time. Just use a shade or two out of it to put with another palette. And it gets the job done. Just didn't like it as a whole on its own. Next, I have the berries. This is what the berries looks like. Absolutely stunning. Love it. Then there's the mauves. This is my least favorite out of all the ones I have. You think I'd love it because my everyday colors, if I had to choose everyday colors to wear, normally would be mauves. But I don't know, like this palette didn't impress me. This one and the sweet pinks were the ones that were disappointed with me with the initial collection that they came out with these. The rest of these are like holiday ones they came out with over the last couple of years. Like they have the I Live, I Love collection. And then the I Live, I Love Ice collection. Now, I love this one. This reminds me of that sugar cookie palette that Beauty Bakery came out with, just a more condensed version because I think they had a few more shades in theirs than this one does. But I like this palette just fine. Believe it or not, that's a pressed glitter. I didn't realize it was a pressed glitter. I think I ended up using it, and that's how I found out it was a pressed glitter. I did not like that about it, but you know, it performed pretty good for a pressed glitter. If anyone cares, I'm just not a pressed glitter person. This is the I Live, I Love Ice palette. Y'all know I was living for this one, but again, with the pressed glitters, I don't like pressed glitters. But to me, this is a good companion palette to go with another one of the holiday palettes they came with later on that year. So we'll, you know, see how that one, you'll see that one in a second. But this is what she looks like. What I'm liking about all these other ones is they don't have pressed glitters. So the next holiday set they came out with didn't have pressed glitters. I feel like this would go good with the I Live, I Love original palette, just because it has more of those yellowy mustard shades in it, and these shades will complement the other shades that are in that palette. Plus it has nice shimmers that'll complement the shades that are in that palette, and I don't have to use pressed glitters. So loving that. Of course, this one is my favorite one because it's the blue one. And now you see what I was talking about when I said this would complement the I Live, I Love palette a lot. So the first two I feel like they had complement the other ones they came out with originally. And these are just stunning. Plus that dark blue matte. That isn't as dark blue as I was hoping it would be. But it's darker than the one in I Live, I Love Ice palette. So that's what makes it good to me. And then this one to me seems like it's kind of a dupe to the Aries palette from Natasha Denona, based upon the color story, or maybe like the Bieber palette with a pop of blue in it. But I really like it. It surprised me because I wasn't expecting to like it that much because of its color story being kind of boring, but I liked it well enough to keep it. So plus I review a lot of Juvia's Place, so of course I need to have it. Y'all, Juvia's Place just keeps growing and growing and growing, honey. Then I've got to go to the bigger palettes. So let's start off with those. My favorite one is the Tribe palette. She is stunning. Oh God, my legs. This is what she looks like on the inside. So, gorgeous palette. They discontinued it though, so you can't get it anymore, unfortunately. Next, we have the Warrior 3 palette. I'm pretty sure they still make this one. I usually keep all the limited edition ones they don't make anymore in my grandmother's house, just so I can still reference the brand if I need to. But most likely that palette has been discontinued if it's at my grandmother's house. But this is what it looks like. It's just a nice little colorful palette that I feel like will go better with the next palette I'm about to show you, which is the Zulu palette. So I feel like the Zulu and the Warrior 3 would be great companion palettes because I feel like this has deeper shades to go with the lighter shades in that other one. And this has shimmers in it that the other one doesn't have to complement each palette nicely. So there's that one. I don't think they make Zulu anymore either though. I know they don't make the Deuce palette anymore, which is like their version of a pastel palette mixed with a few other shades, I guess. I was a little confused on the color story when it came to this one, but it's like I still thought it was a nice palette, so I was shocked that they got rid of it and kind of sad, but I'm glad I still held on to mine and didn't get rid of it and then want it later and wasn't able to get it back. Now this is like the first palette I bought from Juvia's Place that I really truly fell in love with before they came out with all those other ones I showed you, the Magic Mini. I used to have the Masquerade, and what I didn't like about that one is it had all the fun bright colors at the top and then neutrals at the bottom. I like the way they set up this one more with the warm neutrals at the top and then the cool fun colors at the bottom. So to me they just reversed it. Okay, I only got 3 more Juvia's Place palettes to show you, and then I have to take Adriangameover some movies. So I'm going to have to come back and do Color Pop and VH Cosmetics because I have that many palettes and we haven't even gotten to the second drawer yet. Girl, it's a hot mess. I'm going to be editing this in the movie theaters while watching previews. No, but this is the Wahala palette, the original. I did not like this palette. I still kind of don't like this palette. I know they don't make it anymore though, and since I referenced Juvia's Place a lot and you all like to watch my Juvia's Place content, that's how I ended up keeping this. But it has like 3 pressed glitters, this one, and this one, so I already wasn't liking that. Then I don't necessarily like the way the color story is laid out, because it's like you could have gave me a different shimmer to go here and some more shimmers to go with the blue, or just some more mattes. So I don't like this palette at all. I'm not gonna pretend like I do. I just don't. The only shade I like is that shade right here at the top, Power. But they have a similar shade in the next palette that I actually do like from them, Wahala too. This is my favorite Wahala palette, but the shade that they have similar to this one is this one down here called Money. It's really similar to that other one, and the shade Fake is actually similar to Extra Sexual that's in the Divine Rose 2 Artistry palette. So I really like this palette more. If they had came out with this one before they came up with the first one, I'd have bought this one and said screw the first one. But you know, I had to compare them, and I feel like they did a Anastasia Beverly Hills trick on us when they came to this one, because they were acting like it's limited edition. They were making another one knowing damn well they had the other one, so I didn't appreciate or like that. Next we have the Culture palette. This is the one I did a video on most recently. I had bought it, and then I had found out about the scandal they had with the slur they used against the Asian community, which I thought was gross and disgusting. But I asked you all if you still want to see the video in spite of that, because I'm like, I did buy the palette, but I was just going to do an Instagram look, and then you all could see that I used the palette and that I had the palette, but not dedicated video to it. But you all said you still wanted the dedicated video, so I did like you asked, and you got to look at this palette. And this is what it looks like. Lord. Okay, I'm gonna try to get through these BH ones, and then I'm gonna leave, because when my alarm goes off again, I know that'll be it. I found this random colored rain palette in there. I thought I had showed y'all my single one-offs, but I have to store things sometimes in a way where you don't see all the single ones immediately. So this is the Safari Rain. You can't get this anymore, unfortunately, because this is like one of their best palettes. Everybody was raving and loving this palette so much, but I felt like it looked really similar to the Tribe palette, but I feel like it would just end up being a good companion palette for the Tribe palette, not necessarily looking exactly like that palette. Okay, now let's get into BH Cosmetics. I'm gonna start off with the palettes that I'm gonna start off with the old school one first, and then I'll start off with the ones that everybody was obsessed with and wanted really badly. So this is the It's My Ray Ray Collab palette. I actually had 2 of these because I loved it so much. So as you can see, mine has setting powder in it because I loved it so much. I took this on vacation all the time because it has my bronzer, my highlighter. I could easily take a single compact blush, and I had all my eyeshadows with me, and I didn't have to think too hard, because we know I love a purple, and there's like purple and pink in here. And then if I had to rush for us to get to somewhere we had to go while on vacation, I could use the neutral shade she put in it. So Ray did an excellent job with this palette. She actually made like quite a few collabs with BH Cosmetics. I think she did like 3 or 4, because I remember she had the brush set in this palette, then she came out with a lip set separately, and then she came out with that second Eyeshadow palette. So that's at least like 3 or 4, right? Okay, let's do these sweet shops. I have everyone except for the orange one and the brown one, because of course we've been through this. I don't like orange, and you know I'm not a neutral person, so this is cherry on top. Gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I love the way they did their monochromatic ones, because they had a really deep one, and then they had a really light one, and then they had their monotones in between. So I appreciated that one. Cherry on top. Next, we have Cotton Candy. I know a lot of people didn't like Cotton Candy. I heard people talking about they didn't like it. This is actually one of my favorite ones, because I like the fact that they gave me purples and pinks together, because I feel like purples and pinks go nice together. So I guess they agree with me, and that's why they did it this way, and I appreciate it. I think it's gorgeous. Next, we have my bubblegum palette. Believe it or not, I wasn't as fond of the bubblegum palette as I thought I was going to be, because we all know I love a blue moment. But I don't know, like I wasn't super excited about this. I like my Blue Moon palette better from ColourPop, honestly. But this is a good blue palette, and it's definitely would be in my like top 10 of my favorite blue palettes. Last, we have Pistachio. Now, Pistachio is actually my least favorite one out of all of these. I don't know, I feel like just jumping to this green from this green was a little much. I feel like there should have, I don't know, been another green in between, just because this is so deep, and then I don't feel like this is deep enough compared to this. I don't know, but I wasn't feeling like the color contrast that they did with this particular palette, believe it or not. So let's get into all of these palettes now. So I have my Avocado Toast. I have some of these in my grandmother's house. You all have seen them. That's what it looks like. I think Tokyo and Central Pay are at her house. That's what that one looks like. Blueberry Muffin was the one I was most excited about. When I saw it, I was like, yes, I need it. I live for it. It's a definitely unique blue palette in my collection, because it does blues and a little bit of purples and then some browns. So it didn't just focus on blue, but it did a beautiful job, and this is great. My mirror is broken though, because when I got the broken mirror, when I ended up keeping it and giving you all the new one. So this is the Paris, like what is it? Passion in Paris palette. I love this palette. I feel like it's going to be a great companion to go with the Blueberry Muffin that I just showed you all. It's gorgeous. It's stunning. I love it. Then we have the Mimosa palette. Now the two at the bottom are my least favorite ones, which is why they're at the bottom of the pile. So this is Mimosas. I feel like it's just a whole bunch of mid-tone shades and there aren't enough deepening shades for some of my skin tone. So I feel like I'm going to have to pair it with this one here, which I didn't like that much either. It just felt like it was more difficult to blend. But at least it has some deepening tones in it for me to combine with the Mimosa one. This is Party in Puerto Rico. And I don't really like this one that much either. I know Karen decluttered hers because the brand was going out of business. She didn't like it anymore. But my whole thing is like, because the brand is going out of business, I'm going to have something to refer to them when the new stuff comes out from the brand. So that's why I didn't get rid of it. Okay, y'all, so I have to come back and finish this off because Adriangameover and I need to go in order to make the movies on time and find a parking spot. So I will talk to you all a little bit later, but let me show you all the ColourPop is working with just so you can see how long this is about to take. Because, girl, it is no small feat. And we're just going to do the ones that are in this drawer. We're not even going to go to the other drawer because I keep all my monochromatic ones in the top where you saw. So we got to go through all of this right here when I get back, okay? So I finally returned. This is in the Limelight from ColourPop. If you all remember my video on this, I said it was too mid-tone, and this was the one deep shade, and it's not deep enough for some of my skin tone. So I wasn't a huge fan of this. To me, this is just a companion palette. So for my skin tone, you should probably go ahead and, you know, skip on this unless you don't mind having me pull from another palette to use this. But if you have two of the palettes I'm going to show after this one, it might be fine to add to your collection when they have a good sale. Like, you know, sometimes they have the 9-pan palettes for $9. So if you can get this for $9, then I would say maybe go ahead and get it and make it a companion palette if you like the color story enough. But, you know, I did it for review purposes since, you know, y'all like ColourPop. Next, I have the Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic. And I first thought that it would be a good companion for that palette. And I was right. Just based upon the fact that, as you can see, this one has all the deeper shades that are lacking in that palette. So you got this deeper green, you definitely got this deeper green for the Outer V, and then these two mauve shades are deeper than the mauve shades, and that's in that palette. So I feel like they'd be good companions for that reason alone. And I just love the artwork and the color story of this palette. I think they did a great job with that one. Next, we have the Boston Celtics. So this one to me is definitely a good companion palette. Again, because see how the pattern goes. They like to do green tones with mauve. I don't know where they got that idea from, but this is like the third palette you're seeing in my collection that came from them that specifies this particular color story. They just use different shades. Now I'm trying to figure out where they decided mauves went with the Boston Celtics, because they are usually green and white. So I don't know where they got the mauve from, but okay, you know, do you or whatever. Next, I have this huge stack of the I think these are 12-pan palettes. Let's see. This is this is 12-pan palettes. This is the what was it? Cabana Club palette. Sorry, y'all. It's like 2 in the morning, and I need to be going to bed because I got to go to work tomorrow. So I'm just trying to finish up this ColourPop section so that I can edit this when I'm at work tomorrow and try to upload it and eventually go up sometime. But I like this palette. I didn't change this one around. Some of them I have changed around in this format, but it's very far and few that live here in my house. The majority of the ones I changed around live in my government's house, so I can give you content with them and show you, you know, that ColourPop palette so you can future change one. So here we go with that one. Next we have Lush Light. The one that everybody's raving about, and I believe it was 2020 or 2021. It was on everybody's favorite list because they did such a great job with the color story, and they did. You got your row of neutrals, you got your row of oranges, then you got your rows of blues and greens, which are the colors that I obviously used in here the most. I think I used a little bit of the red just so, you know, we could say I used the majority of the colorful shades, but we know I wasn't reaching for this neutral set right here, so, but this is what it looks like if anyone's curious. Next, we have Sonic Blue. Now, I did take one shade out of here. There was a sequin, like, white shade here toward the top, but obviously I don't need that sort of shade. So I just took a yellow from the Ordinate palette, I believe. The Ordinate palette came with those 2 other palettes and a little collection, and made it work for me in this palette because I feel like this color works so much better than the color I had in here. And I think that was a sequin shade in addition to it being a lighter tone shade, which I wasn't going to use, so I was just realistic with myself and like, we not doing this. And you know, there you go, this is what she looks like. Next, I have Good Sport, a old classic that I plan on never getting rid of. This palette was stunning when I first got it. I was excited. I spent like 20 minutes in the bathroom making an eye look at it because I just thought it was so gorgeous. I still feel that way about it. I think it's a gorgeous palette. I don't know what the hell they were doing to get rid of it, they need to bring it back, but since they have not, I'm going to hoard my own. Next, we have My Makeup for Christmas and ColourPop. Now, I was disappointed in this palette. I don't feel like it worked as well as I was hoping it to, and since it's like, you know, a collab palette, they usually do better with collab palettes than they do with normal palettes, so I was shocked they didn't work as well as I wanted it to. The color story is okay. It's not exceptional. It's not anything I'm just, like, super excited to have. It's just more like I did in that video. For the nostalgia of it all is why I kept this palette, because I wasn't super excited about it, but, you know, I have it, so we can just keep it. The Lizzie McGuire and ColourPop What Dreams Are Made Of palette. I was a huge Lizzie McGuire fan. FYI, if you all did not know, my middle name is Ashley Elizabeth. That's where you get the E in Jail Beauty 87. Jail Beauty 87 is literally just my initials. The word beauty and the 87. So now you know, you all know my name is Grace. My middle name is Elizabeth. So there you go. You can just guess on what my last name is. But I love the color story of this palette. I don't like the fact that these are 2 sequin shades and the fact that they put 1 glitter in here. So I'm going to try to switch those out eventually for the future. But right now, I'm just leaving it the way it is because I haven't bought enough ColourPop palettes to where I feel like this is simpling down when I'm feeling comfortable with having the rest of my palettes look the way I want them to. Next, we have My Little Pony on ColourPop. This is the old one. Like, I remember being on vacation on a boat in the middle of the Bahamas and my cousin, like, ordering Wi-Fi every day because he had to do stuff for work, and asked him if I could use his Wi-Fi so I could buy this ColourPop palette because I knew I was going to be on vacation and not be able to order at the time otherwise because I didn't buy the Wi-Fi package because I'm cheap. But, you know, I ended up getting it anyway, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. As you can see, I still have it, even though this collection is a million years old. Next, we have Sweet Nothings. This was the holiday collection that ColourPop did with Ulta a while back. And, of course, I'm going to hoard it because it's a purple palette. And what did I just say about making a whole video dedicated to purple palette? So, obviously, I'm going to keep the purple palette. Even though it's 100 years old and you can't get it anymore. But, you know, yeah. I kept mine anyway. If I remember correctly, my girl, Dr. Adriangameover, got rid of hers finally, like, this year in 2022. But I'm still hoarding mine, so there you go. But this is a collection video, not a declutter. So even if I was decluttering, you'd have to see it in a separate video. Next, we have Dream Street with Kathleen Lights and ColourPop. This is, like, my favorite Kathleen Lights smaller palette. Because y'all know she made that big palette, and obviously I like the big palette more than this one. But I do love this palette, which is why I didn't get rid of it. The shade Mermaid Boy. I like this shade, this shade. I basically like the teal shades. I think it's cool that she put a red in there though, because I can mix the red with this tone and then put this in the corner. I can mix the red with all the neutral tones she showed here because this is quite neutral. But I like this palette, that's why I didn't get rid of mine. Even though I bought the Your Golden palette, which is just a giant version of this palette, I still am not getting rid of this palette because that's my favorite Kathleen Lights collab with ColourPop. Moving on, now let's get into some other palettes. It's just more nostalgia with the Malibu Bari X ColourPop collection. So this is what it looks like on the inside. If you all saw my main chick side chick video, you know to me this is just a dupe of the, what's his name? Manny Anyway Strawberry Dreams palette. That's what this reminds me of. To me, this is just a dupe of that. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's, you know, it's cute, it's nice. It doesn't have that special shade in the corner that Manny has right here. It has this yellow that Manny doesn't have. But otherwise, I feel like it's a good alternative to Strawberry Dream palette if you can't afford it. The formula on this is really good. But then again, you know, it's with Barbie, so they knew they better come with the good formula, not the half-ass formula. Next, we have the ColourPop and Limoncello palette. This is what she looks like on the inside. As you can see, it's just a pop of blue palette, because look at this. Covered up, and what do you see? A whole bunch of neutrals. They literally gave us a pop of green and blue as opposed to just a pop of blue. I still like the palette though, and the formula on this is actually really nice. So I'm glad to have it in my collection. I know you're probably shocked to see it in my collection because it's like a neutral palette, but you know, hey. I have my moments where I buy neutral palettes as well, and that's one of them. Pop of blue in there, I'm fine. Next, we have ColourPop and the Powerpuff Girls. Now, if you can see, I changed mine around. So remember I told y'all I didn't like the Amethyst palette that well, but I didn't like the glitters in this palette even more. So I took the shimmers out of the Amethyst palette to add to Bubbles side and make sure I didn't have any glitters in here because they had gave Bubbles a glitter, which seems fitting. For Bubbles, I feel like if anybody in the Powerpuff Girls would wear glitter, it would be Bubbles. So they gave it to the right character. It's just I didn't want glitter in my palette, and since I didn't like the Amethyst mattes, and I liked the color of these shimmers, and I feel like since it was a bluish purple shimmer and both the shifts of these, I felt like it would be able to pass in this palette, so I put them in here. And there you go. Okay, we have the Perception palette from Makeup Shayla and ColourPop. If you're oldie on my channel, you know that I used to say if I had to make a palette with ColourPop, mine would look like Makeup Shayla. I would change a couple things about it, of course, because I'm not a warm tone person. I'm more of a cool tone person. So the warm tone roll at the bottom would probably go, and we'd have some cool tones in there instead. And like these two sequin shades would not be sequin shades, they just be regular shades. But you know, to each his own. I still think this is a gorgeous palette, and as you can see, I still love it because it's still in my collection. And it's how old? Like Makeup Shayla must have did that at least 3 to 5 years ago, and I still own it. Next, we have the Through My Eyes with I Love Cider E in ColourPop. This is actually her second palette with ColourPop. They gave her a palette back in the day when they used to do those magnetic palettes where they gave you like 4 or 5 shades to stick in it. She did 2 different palettes like that, if I remember correctly. And then they let her come back and make a palette like this after Makeup Shayla had made one. So this is similar to the Rendezvous palette that I used to have. I actually decluttered it and got rid of it because my best friend Jackie, she collects ColourPop palettes. So when I get rid of older ColourPop palettes, I usually have a tendency to just give them to her instead of trying to hoard them or trying to sell them to people online who will be looking for limited edition makeup. She's my friend, so she's gonna get first pick at it. I really like this one though, and since it was so similar to this one, I just went ahead and kept this one because I like Karen. So I was like, I'll keep this one, and I just let her have the Rendezvous one because it's part of the holiday collection again that ColourPop came up with for Ulta. Last 3, and then I am done with this one drawer. It's sad that I had to go through all this in one drawer, child. Don't get me started, but we'll eventually get to all the drawers. It's just I just filmed this drawer this week, and I'm gonna film the other drawer next week. And every like Saturday, I'm gonna try to come home and film one of these drawers until I am done. Anyway, this is the So Jaded palette. As you can see, I just took the pressed glitters out of here because I wasn't filming them. So I believe there was a pressed glitter like right here where Topaz is. And I think there was a pressed glitter right here where, it was another pressed glitter here. I don't remember which one it is. But I took the 2 pressed glitters out. I know for sure this one was a pressed glitter. I think, I want to say Opal was a pressed glitter, but it's like at the same time, I don't honestly remember. Point is, I took the pressed glitters out and then I put in single ColourPop shadows in here because I wasn't sure that they would, the ones from the 12 pan palettes would fit in here, but as you can see, they do because I stuck them in here, and I am so much happier with this palette now than with the glitters they had before. Now, I think the pink is random and doesn't necessarily go with anything, but I feel like I can put this pink with some of the deeper neutral tones and just use ruby on the lid, and it should be fine. So that's why I was like, we're just gonna stick it in here and it's gonna be okay. Okay. And of course, that one is gone as well. I don't feel like I hear Kathleen likes talking about ColourPop anymore, so I don't know if she had a contract like Jeffree Star did with more people. She had to talk about them and do stuff with them for a certain amount of time, and she finally stopped because you know she used to do the video every year talking about her favorite ColourPop palette. Her favorite ColourPop products and all that, and she hasn't done that in years either. So I'm feeling like she had a contract to do a certain amount of things with them, and now the contract is up, she doesn't even talk about the brand anymore. Because when last time you heard Kathleen like talk about ColourPop, as many collabs and stuff that she did with them. I'm just saying. This is the It's a Mood palette. If you all remember, I recreated mine to look the way I wanted it to look, and I'm very proud of it. This is my favorite ColourPop palette I have recreated, and this is what she looks like on the inside. So my girl Jackie bought this for me for my birthday. She bought me this and the Play Jewel palette, which is the palette you see in the corner. The last one you're gonna see. So I took this shade from from Mars palette. I took this shade from Either Just My Look or Meant to Be. I don't remember which one it was. I know this came from Meant to Be. This came from Lilac You a Lot. This came from It's My Pleasure. And if I remember correctly, these 3, or at least a couple of these, came from Ooh La La. So what happened was I got a new Ooh La La when it went on sale because mine was so old. I literally had the original Ooh La La when it first came out. So I just took the shades out of it that I wanted in here. And since I feel like they still blend okay, I put them in this palette, and then the new palette I bought, I just kept the way it was. So this palette has been redone, but it is my favorite creation. I like the fact that it has lighter shades as well as deeper shades. I know it's new, it's supposed to be deeper and darker, but it's like I still like to have some brighter pops of color every now and again, and I feel like this wasn't doing it for me. It didn't have enough brighter pops of color, so that's why I recreated the way I wanted to. I still want to get rid of the sequin shade and just find like a nice blue that's this shade that does not, have sequin in it. So hopefully by the end of the year they come up with a palette that has that, and then I can just take this out and switch it out. But I'm in love with this palette. It is my greatest creation. The last one I have is the Play It Jewel palette. This is what she looks like on the inside. So I took this shade from Mars. If I remember correctly, I took this from Aura and Out. And I feel like there's one more shade in here I took out of some other palette. I honestly just don't remember which one it is. So I can't tell you. I think this came from It's My Pleasure as well. But yeah, and this one came from another ColourPop palette. I just don't remember which one it was. But yeah, this is the last palette we have to show in part 2, because I'm going to have at least 5 parts with just my eyeshadow palette collection. But one of y'all asked me to do my makeup collection, so this was it. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Remember, y'all, the diamonds, this is part 2 of, I want to say, about probably 5 parts of just eyeshadow, and we still haven't gone to foundation, concealer, blushes, bronzers, highlighters, lipsticks, anything of the sort. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.